And again, welcome to SCP The Secret Files. This is part 3 in my series, so if you have not seen part 1 or part 2 yet, I recommend you go do so now. Also, this game does have content warnings, so there's a photosensitivity warning as well as a general horror themes warning, so if either of those bother you, please feel free to click off at any point. But without further ado, let's get straight to it. Right back into things. Oh, straight to files? Alright, I guess we don't need to talk to anyone, we just get our task and go, so... the instructions are the same, it looks like. So, Appendix, April 21st, 2012. Object is an irregular clay pot with a height of 23 centimeters and a diameter of 28 centimeters. But do not be fooled by its appearance. It is an organism, a womb. Alright? Yes, an earthen womb. SCP-660 may be safely stored in a standard safe deposit box, provided its mouth remains covered with an inner perspex disc and sealed with tamper-proof tape. Log of tests involving human experimentation with SCP-660. Lab Report 660-A. Sample condition: skin flap harvested from the left thigh of cadaver of D612. Donor was healthy in all respects prior to death. Sample use: tissue sample left in SCP-660 for 2 months duration. Result: daily biopsies indicate viability of sample. Cell samples taken from tissue graft are cultured in vitro, revealing a predisposition towards precancerous and cancerous growth. So it causes cancer? Great. Lab Report 660-B. Sample condition: skin flap harvested from the left thigh of the cadaver of D612, so same subject. Sample use: tissue sample left in SCP-660 for 2 months duration, then grafted onto the torso of a D-class personnel with 2nd and 3rd degree burns. The recipient's anomaly testing record had no contradictions with SCP-660. I assume that's supposed to be contradictions, even though it's contraindictions. I think that's a typo. Result: tissue graft takes without complication, healing according to usual steps of adherence, serum inhibition, and revascularization. However, as is common with severe burn cases, the compromised skin barrier led to infection and eventual fatal septic shock. Post-mortem biopsy and analysis indicate skin graft would have returned to full histological structure and function had the recipient survived. So, okay, it creates like a blueprint of biological data. Lab Report 660-C. Sample condition: live member of musculus house mouse. BALB-C strain. Required for laboratory testing. By use of SCP-redacted, the consciousness of D614 was implanted into the specimen. D614 was chosen for his demonstrated resistance to the negative effects of prolonged isolation and sensory deprivation. Sample use. Specimen left in SCP-660 for 2 months duration. Result. Unusually, SCP-redacted was incapable of restoring D-614's consciousness to its original body after removing from SCP-660. A computer interface was developed to facilitate two-way communication with D-614. An interview was conducted once D-614 was familiarized with this interface. An excerpt is below. Dr. Brown. I guess I'll have to take your word for it. And how did that feel? D-614. Suffocating and stretching. Dr. Brown, could you be more specific? D-614. How the hell do you think it felt? Even mice need to grow and move and live. Every part of me was straining, but I was stuck. I thought I would explode. Full contents of the interview are classified. An autopsy revealed precancerous growths throughout the mouse's body. Lab Report 660-D. Sample condition. Right arm lost in traumatic amputation just beneath the elbow. Sample use. D-778 was severely injured in an incident involving SCP-redacted. Lost limb recovered as part of cleanup operation. Subject would not have survived immediate reattachment surgery due to other injuries involving severe vascular compromise. Severed extremity preserved in SCP-660 in bid to preserve tissue viability. Results. Right arm successfully reattached to previous owner. Subject reports return of sensations in fingers of right hand, contrary to poor prognosis due to severe tissue avulsion and nerve damage sustained in initial injury. Biopsy reveals little to no precancerous growth. Transplant ruled a tentative success. D-778 has been retained for further observation. So it doesn't cause cancer if it's reattached to a living entity? Maybe? Addendum. Human testing with SCP-660 is suspended due to the sudden death of D-778 from teratoma with malignant transformation. Never mind. I spoke too soon. I've seen fetus in Vtuber before, but never have I had one try to grab my probe during an autopsy. Dr. Grayson. Appendix 7-30-2012. As of today, SCP-660-1 has been neutralized. SCP-660 no longer exhibits any other forms or shapes. It has been classified as safe by the Foundation. Research on SCP-660-1 will be transferred to the Reliquary Research Institute. Details available to personnel with clearance 4-660. All right. Guess I will copy it over. And there we go. Next one. Addendum 143-1. The trees were grown on-site from saplings obtained from parent plants located in Nara Prefecture, Japan in 1905. The parent trees were owned by a family of traditionalist swordsmiths, claiming to be descended from a legendary swordmaker named Amakuni. They referred to the original trees as Jinki no Kodachi, or the Bladewood Grove. It is from them that the Foundation gained the techniques to cut and work the wood and petals into serviceable items. Actually, I'm going to skip to reading the archive document because it's already half populated, it looks like. So object class Euclid, special containment procedures, SCP-143 is to be contained in the valley adjacent to Bioresearch Area 12, an area over 2 kilometers squared. Area surrounding SCP-143 for up to 20 kilometers, and all lines of sight from the surrounding hilltops are to be denied public access. Description: SCP-143 is a plantation of 300 specimens of a unique type of tree. The trees are similar in appearance to Prunus ex yadoensis, the Japanese sakura or cherry blossoms. They bear no fruit, and the only known way of reproduction is by careful own-root propagation using cut saplings from an older sample. The petals are a light pinkish color, slightly translucent, and with a texture of smooth glass. Care must be taken when handling the petals, as their edges are razor sharp and can easily slice through flesh if mishandled. Alright, so then back to the new data. The original trees are still in Japan, owned by the government, and still tended to by the same family. However, the government has denied all existence of the trees, and any products made from them are kept within the country. Addendum 143-2. SCP-143 is to be watered twice every day on a regular basis via a large sprinkler system, unless already watered by local precipitation. Personnel are not allowed to enter the enclosure without Level 4 administrative clearance, and are advised not to touch any of SCP-143, nor stand beneath them unless wearing proper protective gear. It is important that no one be within the containment area when SCP-143 begins to shed. However, after the shedding has concluded, the collection of the fallen petals for testing purposes has been authorized by the project director. See SCP-143 testing log. Document 143-A. We lost 3 staff to 143 today. They were collecting petals dropped by the trees the previous day when a sudden gust picked up, shaking a good deal of the petals from the trees and blowing them around. Stayed that windy the whole day. I'll send a cleanup crew, but it's still pretty windy and the odd petal is still falling. We'll have to pick up the remains when the wind dies down in a couple days. Yikes. Shredded. Okay. SCP-143 testing logs. Appendix 143-D0. Hardness test. 5000 HB on the Brinell scale. Brinell? I don't know. Appendix 143-D1. Withstanding temperatures of up to 1800 degrees Celsius. Appendix 143-D2. The weight-to-strength ratio surpasses even that of titanium, being some 15% lighter than aluminum. Both are notoriously difficult to work with due to their properties. Then Appendix 143-D11. But under high temperatures, upwards of 1500 degrees Celsius, separate pieces are capable of being fused together. Right, so a forest with razor-sharp leaves. Or petals, specifically. Next one. Okay, let's read the SCP first. So, object class is safe. Special containment procedures. Any access to SCP-261 must be approved by staff with Level 2 security clearance or higher. Any and all items dispensed by SCP-261 must be recorded, along with the amount of money entered and the amount of time elapsed between uses. Testing approved by Site Command is not under these restrictions. Items dispensed by SCP-261 should be reviewed by site health and safety officials before consumption. Failure to do so releases the Foundation from any obligation regarding negative effects. Items deemed dangerous or useful to research will be confiscated by site security, with financial compensation provided in proportion to money spent. So, a SCP vending machine of some form? Log of items vended during testing phase 8. 800 yen entered for each item, items being dispensed every 2 minutes. SCP-261 is attached to power. Notes: SCP-261 safety regulations stipulates that SCP-261 may be used a maximum of 10 times per 24-hour period, with no transaction value exceeding the equivalent of 500 Japanese yen. However, in view of the necessity of this experiment, the Foundation has approved Dr. Redacted's request to use SCP-261 at high frequency. Coke Zero, a can of Diet Coke, packaging in English. Cheetos, a small bag of Cheetos snack food, packaging in English. Black, a single pack of caffeinated chewing gum, packaging in Japanese. Yan, a single yan cone with peach dipping frosting, packaging in Japanese. The Meiji Saika company does not produce this flavor. Pepsi Dragon Twist, a can of Pepsi Cola with a trace of fruit flavor, packaging in English, flavor identified as dragon fruit. PepsiCo does not produce this product. Darkside Cola, a can with clear plastic sides, packaging in Japanese. Liquid inside is clear. When opened, liquid appears to react to the air and changes to a dark black over a period of several seconds. The black coloration, quote, looks like billowing smoke, unquote, and cannot be reversed. Liquid's taste described as, quote, cola with something spicy in it, end quote. The Little Bakery 7 Grain, a small tube of the size of a candy bar with a green button, made of aluminum, packaging in English. When the top is twisted off, a mass of dough is extruded. Dough contains several enzymes and bacteria that have not yet been identified. On contact with air, these cause the dough to rise and, quote, bake. Killing the microbes in the process produces a small round loaf of bread weighing 250 grams. Taste described as good, but chewy. Alright. Lemon clams. Thick plastic baggie with a plastic tube on the side containing water and 12 clams, packaging in Dutch. Following on package instructions, the plastic tube was cracked like a glow stick. Liquid in the bag flashed to steam, venting from a hole that popped open at the top of the bag, slightly burning one researcher. Steaming finished after 38 seconds, after which clams were found to be fully cooked and infused with a mild lemon flavor. On investigation, clams match no recorded species. Great. Diet Ghost, a can containing an instance of SCP-2107. Packaging was in English. Testing done on this instance provided similar results to other contained instances of SCP-2107. This marks the first time SCP-261 has vended another SCP object. And then Unknown. Small mesh bag filled with small multicolored pyramids, packaging in an unknown language. Pyramids found to be very hard and unpleasant tasting, compared to chalk in taste and consistency. When placed in hot water, pyramids open and produce strings that quickly dissolve, coloring the water the same shade as the pyramid. Water had no additional taste, but testing revealed a sharp increase in mineral, carbohydrate, and protein content, with several minerals unidentified at the present time. This content was found to be consistent with the recommended daily intake of nutrients for adult humans. Researcher ingesting the water reported stomach cramps 2 hours later, but no other effects. And then, second unknown. Aluminum box with small glass window on the side and a large round button on top. Packaging in an unknown language. Box is seamless and appears to be filled with small, round animals covered in fur, each with 3 small paws and a single large eye. Pressing the button causes the inside of the box to rapidly become superheated, cooking the small animals alive. Muffled noises and scratching were heard for several seconds during the cooking process. After 1 minute, 30 seconds, the front panel opens and gives access to the now cooked animals. Professor Kane volunteered to eat the animals, with no other researchers willing to do so. Taste described as crunchy and very spicy, with a small hint of beef. Yikes. And then the third and last unknown. Tall, thin aluminum can, packaging in an unknown language. Opening the can caused a chemical reaction with the liquid inside the can. Liquid was apparently not intended for oxygenated atmosphere and detonated violently, causing several injuries and killing 2 researchers. Testing continued and area cleared. Testing area observed to smell like citrus for several days. Dr. Redacted conclusion. It was either food or drinks, nothing else. How awful. Let's call it an end. I can't believe that last one. That last one's actually pretty funny. Even though, it did apparently injure some of the researchers, but the idea of a vending machine dispensing something that isn't intended for this current atmosphere and it just immediately implodes or explodes. Okay. Let's submit that. Oh, okay, we're done. Great, back to the chat. Oh, are we going out somewhere? Oh, okay. I guess I'll ask what they're talking about. The monthly lecture. What is that? Is it like a panel or something? Each month, the Foundation invites someone famous to hold a lecture to share knowledge and insights pertaining to SCP. For this month's lecture, they invited Dr. Trevor. He holds a high reputation with the Foundation. Interesting. Okay, yeah, count me in. Great, okay. Let's go. Daniel and Dragon. Excluding mimemic influence. Interesting.
There are many stories in this world. Some are read widely all over the world. Some are hidden in dust and known only by a handful of people. Today I'm going to tell you a story no one else has heard before. A real story of mystery and wonder and adventure. And then you too will become the guardian of this story. The story takes place in a world of long ago. The hero of our story is a little boy. His name is Daniel. One day, out of nowhere, Daniel got a serious case of chickenpox. It made him look like a strawberry. To make sure he didn't spread it to others, Mrs. Page, the principal, had him isolate in an attic. And so, in the attic he lived, all on his own.
Mr. Daniel, while up here in this attic, you'll have plenty of time to practice your penny whistle. I hope you'll practice well and prepare for next month's art festival.
But Mrs. Page, the melody is so difficult.
Don't give up, boy. You don't give up before you fight.
Daniel was reluctant at first, but he trusted Mrs. Page, and he knew he should listen. And so he practiced the penny whistle.
Oh boy. Is the F space? This is interesting. Not where I expected this game to go, but... And I already missed one.
Suddenly, he heard some strange noises in the corner of the attic.
Huh? Who's there?
Daniel decided to go over and take a look.
Oh, I'm in control. Interesting art style. Hello.
It was a mousetrap, and there was a red origami paper dragon inside of it. Daniel carefully removed it. It was marvelous and beautiful. The only problem was part of its wing was damaged, but Daniel found a way to repair it.
Oh, oh. Yeah, I think that's the best option. Stapler is kind of intense.
Daniel held the repaired paper dragon high up in the air, imagining that it soared over all the world below. He played and played with the paper dragon.
Wee! Woo! Dragon! Soar!
In the warm afternoon sun, Daniel had to fight his eyelids just to keep them open.
Could it be? Or is this all just a dream?
Well, considering this is an SCP lecture, I'm guessing it's alive to some extent.
The next day, with boredom and loneliness weighing him down, he began to fiddle with the old radio.
Our town is located in the plains, where earthquakes are not particularly common. Although there are 17 fault zones around us, they are all inactive.
What? Who just says that on the radio? Like, you're asking for something to happen.
a scrunched up ball of paper rolled over to his feet.
Where did this paper ball come from?
Just as Daniel went to pick it up, the ball suddenly came to life, and it rolled away. Daniel chased after it.
Have to catch it? Is that what's happening? Right. And of course I can't run or anything. I just have to chase it for long enough?
Just
All
as
right.
he was about to seize the rolling paper ball, suddenly, terrible sparks erupted from it.
Oh, great.
Before his very eyes, the paper ball began to grow, bigger and bigger. At that moment, a red figure suddenly appeared.
Oh, it's the dragon
The
again.
red figure quickly subdued the paper ball and threw it into a cardboard box. Daniel studied the red figure carefully. It had a sticker on its fluttering wing. It was the paper dragon.
I wasn't dreaming. Thank you for saving me.
Daniel was grateful and very happy. He walked closer to the paper dragon, but the paper dragon seemed timid and afraid and backed away. Just then, Daniel had an idea. He took out his penny whistle and slowly played a tune.
Not again. I wonder if these, like, if this minigame actually matters. Like, do you scare off the origami dragon if you miss enough notes? I don't know if this is supposed to be on rhythm or if it's just... Oh, oops. Like, I don't know if this is actually supposed to make a coherent melody or if it's just
The paper
a
dragon
video game.
enjoyed the sound very much. It began to move along with the rhythm, flipping up and down in the air. Soon the two were playing and dancing, just like old friends.
Oh, did...
The paper dragon traced out a beautiful arc in the air,
Oh.
communicating with Daniel in a unique way.
It unfolded.
My cherished friend, after many long years, we finally meet again. Tell me,
That was not the voice I was expecting, but,
a great thank you for playing that music for me. You know how I love the beautiful rhythm of that instrument. But we ought to take precautions, as the room is not stable. Do you still remember how the room works? You're welcome to visit any time.
The piece of paper then changed back into the shape of a paper dragon and flew into the cardboard box. The box closed shut, and a calm silence was restored to the attic.
those are some impressive vocal cords on that tiny dragon. Usually small animals have higher pitches because of the size of their vocal cords and how much, sound their vocal cords can make, but I guess this SCP doesn't really follow that logic, huh?
Daniel rushed to find a watercolor pen and marked the box with excitement in his fingertips.
Here be dragons.
Over the next few days, the paper dragon came out often to play with Daniel. During this time, Daniel introduced many of his friends to the paper dragon.
Isn't Daniel supposed to be isolated because he has chickenpox? What do you mean by introduced his friends? Please tell me it's through a window.
That cat's name is Mrs. Carter. Ever since I secretly fed her some fish for dinner, we've been good friends.
Oh.
That's Duke, Mrs. Jessica's pet. He doesn't like Rainy Day or Mrs. Carter. Only smoked sausages fit his taste.
That makes a lot more sense
And
then.
now, we are friends too. My name is Daniel. What's your name?
The paper dragon flapped its wings, as if it didn't understand him.
But it spoke English.
Well, since you like the sound of the penny whistle so much, why don't I just call you Penny? I'll keep practicing to make it sound better.
Daniel and Penny then played baseball together in the attic.
Let's play cat.
Is it catch or is it fetch? It's fetch. Because I was about to say catch sounds like an accident waiting to happen. Oh, there we go.
Just as they were in the middle of enjoying themselves, a violent shaking suddenly rose from the ground.
Is it that earthquake?
Earthquake is back at it, folks, and it seems even stronger than last time.
At this moment, the box suddenly shot open, and thick clouds of smoke billowed out, followed by several paper balls.
Oh boy.
Penny attacked the paper balls without a moment's hesitation and promptly threw them back into the box. Penny then flew around in front of Daniel and rushed right back into the box. As the box closed, the earthquake stopped. Facing a friend's farewell without a formal goodbye, Daniel felt confused and lost. He moved the box to the center of the attic. Facing it, he practiced his penny whistle day in and day out. As the days went by, Daniel's playing became smoother. One day, the box suddenly began to move.
Huh?
1, 2, 3, 4. This time there were 4 paper dragons. But they weren't alone. Enemies began to jump out of the box too.
Earthquake! Another earthquake! This time it's
Yeah.
reached a magnitude of 5.8!
In that small attic, the 4 paper dragons fought fiercely against the paper balls. This time, the paper balls used new tactics. They clumped together into a single monstrous ball of paper. It began to shoot strong bursts of electric sparks at the paper dragons as they flew through the air. As they were hit, the paper dragons fell from the air, one after the other. Seeing the injured paper dragons, Daniel felt very distressed and anxious. Just then, one of the paper dragons painfully started to fly and gathered the remainder of its power. The paper dragon transformed into a great beam of light. and dove straight down to
Jeez.
pierce through the monstrous paper ball. And then came another paper dragon. The monstrous paper ball was blasted to bits, exploding into smaller paper balls. Trembling, they struggled to escape back into the box. The sacrificed paper dragons were reduced to swirling shreds of paper, and a silence pervaded. Peace and tranquility were restored once again to the attic. Daniel saw the remaining 2 paper dragons lying on the floor, badly wounded. He rushed to grab some stickers and treated them at once.
No. Okay. Thought I would have to move them to the desk, but I guess I just...
Suddenly,
doing it in
countless
place.
paper dragons began to gush from the box. The 2 wounded paper dragons were repaired and began to fly. Like 2 colored threads, they merged with the other dragons, flying in unison. The dragons moved like a tide, flying freely through the attic. Daniel eagerly took out his penny whistle. He showed all his paper dragon friends the results of his hard work and practice.
Don't make me play, please. Dang it. Okay. Hopefully when they say that, you know, I'm showing them the results of my hard work and practice, that doesn't mean it's going to be too much more difficult as this is fine. This is fine. Yeah, this so far doesn't seem to be too much more complicated than it was before, so this is fine. So it seems like it's somewhat timed with the music. Yeah, at least, I don't know, maybe the earlier one just wasn't as timed with the music, and that's why it threw me off, but this one is fairly timed with background music.
In the sweet melody of his playing, Daniel felt himself enter into the world of dragons.
Looks an awfully lot like Earth. Oh.
The paper dragons merged into a long letter and floated down towards Daniel to tell their story.
After the last war, the fantasy world enjoyed a long spell of peace and stability. But now, the giants have returned. They have launched ferocious attacks, trying to invade your world through the room. We are prepared to launch the final defense. Then we will have to destroy your room, for it is the last remaining entryway into your world. Please Please believe this farewell will only be temporary. We will not be apart forever, and we will never forget our eternal mission of protecting you.
At that moment, the paper dragons flew back into the box. Daniel still couldn't fully understand what the paper dragons had meant, but he had a vague feeling in his heart that he may never see his new friends again. A few days later, Daniel's chickenpox had fully recovered. He could now play the penny whistle very, very well. But the paper dragons never returned.
Back to school then.
Maybe it was time to leave and move on.
Earthquake warning! Magnitude 6.2! A massive earthquake is hitting our town! All townspeople, please leave your houses immediately and move to safe open spaces!
Just then, countless paper dragons shot from the cardboard box. However, it seemed like they were under attack, spinning and falling through the air in confusion.
What's happening?
Daniel quickly grabbed the stickers out from his bag and did his best to heal the injured paper dragons.
Oh boy. Heal them. Am I missing something? Oh, there we go. Alright, how many more of them can I actually interact with? You. Oh, there we go.
But the paper balls swarmed together and pushed Daniel away, subduing him firmly in the corner. He couldn't move. Suddenly, ominous clouds rose from the box, and a violent lightning flashed through the room. The figure of a giant slowly emerged from the thick clouds, and the entire attic became overwhelmed with its evil aura.
The earthquake is growing stronger, now with a magnitude of 7.1! Heaven almighty, are we doomed?
The giant unleashed its power maniacally. The paper dragons struggled against it, with no means of fighting back. At this critical moment, two paper dragons shined brilliantly. Together, they heroically crashed their bodies into the giant. Daniel thought the giant had been defeated by the paper dragons, but soon he found that things would probably not be so simple. The giant's figure could still be seen in the thick smoke, looking evil and terrible. The attacks of the paper dragons had had no effect, and the giant had only grown stronger. It fought back with a new ferocity. The paper dragons were simply no match for it.
The earthquake is growing stronger still! The greatest disaster this town has seen in over 100
This
years! My heavens!
newscaster radio person severely jinxed themselves in the first section of this story. We'll never
With the
have
paper dragons
earthquakes,
now
they
all
say.
but defeated, Daniel spotted a frail figure in the distance. It was Penny. It flew gently in front of Daniel. and affectionately rubbed its head against his fingers, as if this whole crisis had never happened.
Yeah, perhaps now's not the time.
Daniel felt like Penny was trying to tell him something, but he didn't quite understand what. Penny then left Daniel and soared into the air with a determination in its wings. Suddenly, the other paper dragons seemed to be summoned.
So Penny
They
was
flew
saying
through the
goodbye,
air,
and
all
now
together in unison,
I'm guessing.
responding to the call without an ounce of hesitation. At that moment, Penny turned into a great red beam and rushed fast towards the giant. The other dragons followed, shining together like a shooting star. At that moment, Daniel seemed to see a real dragon flying.
No!
A huge explosion from the impact drowned out everything else in the attic. The attic rained down with countless pieces of paper, the leftover scraps of the paper dragons. Daniel wanted to collect all of the pieces. He thought he could still fix them.
What piece am I missing? Oh, there we go.
Goodbye, my friend.
Yep.
The nightmare is over. The earthquake has stopped. With God's mercy, our town is safe. We thank you, Lord, for your protection.
A few days later, the art festival was held as scheduled. Daniel attended the show with his penny whistle.
And now, Daniel Trevor will perform a penny whistle solo of a song titled
Wait, wasn't that the name of the researcher? Or am I misremembering that? Because I thought that was the name of the researcher who was leading the lecture. Okay. I got distracted by the images.
And that's how the story ends. Now, you might be wondering, what happened next? Are there still paper dragons in the world? Well, that's a difficult question to answer. But I believe that they are still protecting us somewhere in this world, just like they promised they would, forever, into eternity.
That was a interesting story, and I mean, it was fairly sweet, disregarding the earthquakes that caused a lot of damage. People probably got seriously hurt or, died from that, so, but the dragons were sweet, so. This is a case where I wish I could choose an option C. Because I'm not sure what they mean by those cute little ones. But I also feel like it's a bit insensitive to immediately leap to asking where they're contained. But I'll go with the contained one because I really don't know what is meant by this first option. SCP-1762 is now being contained at Reliquary Research Institute, where Dr. Daniel is the supervising director. That cardboard box has remained silent. How do you know all of this? I didn't think you attended the monthly lecture. Under the direction of Dr. Trevor, Gent spent 2 years researching SCP-1762. So he knows far more than we do. That's interesting. Oh. He's embarrassed. Yeah, that particular SCP doesn't suit you. I don't know, I feel like, maybe it's kind of embarrassing from some perspectives, but that SCP caused severe earthquakes. Like, it's not just a cutesy storybook. It has drastic real-world implications if something were to happen, so I don't know why he's so embarrassed about that, but whatever. I have been here for a month now, and I am now entirely adjusted to the job. Though the content of my work is to simply process archive files, it is work that will never bore me. A few absurd jokes aside, most of the archives are really rather fascinating. I have been having hallucinations lately. I feel like someone's calling me, a voice low and uncertain. They seem to be trying to communicate with me, but I cannot understand a single word they say. In fact, I had planned on seeing a doctor, but Zoe told me it was the typical rookie syndrome and would clear up in a few days. I certainly hope that's the case. I have a feeling it's not the case. But guess we'll see. Alrighty, well, that's where I will wrap this episode of SCP The Secret Files. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.